Welcome to this episode of DIY3DTech.com. In this episode, as promised, I've got the diode smoother hooked up to the Y-axis and doing some testing here. I wanted to do it because I figured the bed's got the most inertia moving back and forth. And what I've done is I've mentioned before, I've ran it so I've got channel 1 here with a piece of tape on it. Channel 1 connected up to the input from the controller board, and then channel 2 connected to the output of the diode board, so I can compare the waveforms, both input and output. They are slightly different, and so those out there thinking, back to when I explained this, with the diodes going each way, it's sort of like a straight wire, but the diodes do have an effect. Is it a positive, negative effect? Well, you'll have to hold on and see. The other piece I've done is I've also measured them between inputs and inputs, and outputs, as well as removing the diode from this scenario altogether and just measuring it straight up as if the signal doesn't have a diode in between, and then comparing that to with the diode and see what we get. So tell you what, let's hop over into the computer, let's take a look at some of the traces, and I'll share with you what I think, and then I'd like to hear from you guys what you think, because I got to be honest with you, I'm still a little bit up in the air on this one. So let's head over to the computer and look at the traces on this. Okay, welcome into the computer. So I've done a number of tests, and I've actually distilled these down to 3 examples I wanted to share with you guys. So in this first example, what I did is on trace 1, this is the input into the diode. Trace 2 is the output from the diode to the stepper motor. And as you can see here, outside of reduced ringing here and maybe a little bit here and here, there's not much difference. We see some noise on the line both here and here, and it seems to actually the noise was amplified on the output of the diode where it was minimized on the input. So I really can't figure that out since the ringing over here and here was reduced from the diode. So maybe if somebody has an explanation for that, let me know. But I think this is some kind of line noise being introduced. So I'd be interested to hear what your guys' opinion are of that. But again, nothing here really jumps out at me and says, wow, this is really a cleaner waveform, or this is something of interest. Also, I'm not really seeing anything being backfed on the line, and maybe that's what this is, and that's what you guys will tell me. But again, I don't see any flyback really occurring here that's of interest. So what I then did is I actually turned on statistics and took a very similar capture. And one of the things you notice, basically my RMS of the waveforms are pretty much the same. Now, when we start looking at the overshoots, typically what I have seen is the diodes did improve the overshoot on the wave. Typically in about this percentage, so we have 36% overshoot on the input, 20% on the output. Is this really critical? I don't think so, not in this context. But again, I'm interested in hearing from you guys. I'm just basically taking a look at this and giving a little bit of my opinion, and kind of looking for your opinion too. So I kind of want to crowdsource this a little bit. The other piece, when we look at the output, negative overshoot about 46, and again we have about 36.92 here, where we jump from a rise time of 20.8 nanoseconds to 333 nanoseconds here, which I find a little bit interesting, and I think has to do maybe a little bit with this section of the waveform here. So again, looking for some interesting input if you have it. Fall times seem to be across the board almost the same, so I didn't see anything of great interest in this waveform here where the diodes did something that I think was fantastic. So in the final test, what I did was actually took in the trace 1, I took the diode right out of the mix. So this is the raw signal, and then I connected the output to the diode on phase 2. So phase 1 is no diode, phase 2 is output from a diode. And so again, because of the difference in waves, we have to dismiss the RMS value because they will be different. Rise and fall times, yeah, interesting, but again, again we look at the overshoot. I was kind of interested. This is one of the few times where the negative overshoot actually really increased over. Most of the time the diode overshoot was, negative overshoot was less. And then we have rise times, so we have 20.8 nanoseconds, we have 14.6 microseconds, and again you can kind of see here that the fall time is pretty much the same as it's been throughout basically all my tests. So anyways, I ran several dozen tests, different combinations, as I mentioned in the onset video, crossing A, B, in, out, in, you name it. And again, I really haven't seen anything where the diodes have provided any value to the equation. Now, maybe if you guys see something in these waveforms, you can tell me. Now, I did some prints with it too. They look the same to me. I don't see any difference, or did not see any difference in them, so I didn't even, see it worthwhile to even show that piece. I think probably part of the value here has to do with the quality of your ramps. I think if you have a quality controller, or a stepper motor controller, I should say, rather than the term ramp, because I know somebody will pick on me for that. But if you have a quality stepper controller, I don't think you need the diodes. I think it's only maybe in particular cases with the tarantula. I don't see where this would really provide any value adding them, so I'm simply not going to add them. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. Have you been using stepper smoothers? Have you had good luck? Have you done any tests like this that you can share? Do you have any suggested tests I can do to share with you guys to kind of further this? To me, I think stepper smoothing is a little bit of fake news. Again, unless you have a stepper driver that maybe is a bit dirty and it's going to clean up the pulse. But again, looking to hear what you have to say. So anyways, this is what I've come up with on this project. And hey, don't forget to subscribe over there. Don't forget the swag shop up in the corner. Christmas is coming. Great holiday gifts. And also comment below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.
Please click like below and subscribe to the channel to keep up to date on